Last time I found a new home for my big dust collector back in this corner here where it's not so much in the way. And at the moment I had finished installing it and was just about to make the new pipe system, which right now is already finished. I had the opportunity to make my shop bigger. And of course, that's a no-brainer, that had to be done first. So that's what this video is about, making my shop bigger and then installing the new duct system. Now the reason why I was able to make the shop bigger is, here you can see where the old wall was glued to the floor. And on the other side there was a storage shelf and it got moved to another place in the house. So I could move the wall from here to there. The total amount of space that I gained through it was about 1/3 of a square meter, which is not really much. But this in combination with moving the dust collector to there and rearranging some more equipment in the shop, that really made using the space here a lot more efficient, so the shop now seems much more bigger than just an additional 1/3 square meter.
First of all, I removed the sliding table from my table saw because it would be in the way and also to protect it from damage. Pretty simple to do, unless you forget to remove a couple screws. Pretty simple to do, unless you forget to remove a couple screws. Okay, now. Here you can also see how it works with the bearing cage. Then I removed everything from my lumber rack and also took it down. Quite a lot of dust had accumulated there over time.
Some of my lumber rack brackets were attached to these birch plywood pieces here, and I somehow thought it would be a good idea to glue these onto the OSB. What a great idea.
Fortunately, wood glue doesn't stick to OSB very well. Once done, I could take apart the wall as far as necessary. With an open wall and a door, you can also waste a little bit of time. My mom was in the basement too and also asked what the hell I'm doing there. I couldn't give her an answer. Next, screwing studs into the wall and ceiling. For the other studs I used steel L brackets, except for one because of two water pipes. So I used my freehand pocket hole jig. You could call it a drill bit.
Framing is done. The tight space between these two is so that I can screw these dust collector support arms into them.
Then I cut OSB sheets to size to finish the wall from the outside. I could pretty much reuse everything from the old wall. And once the shop was closed again, I started insulating this wall with some fiberglass wool that was left over from insulating the house ceiling. This kind of wool is some nasty stuff and you have to wear gloves and a respirator or dust mask when working with it. It was also too thick for my walls, so I split it in half to make it fit. I did the insulation not so much for keeping the heat in, but more for noise dampening and to keep the noise of the machines in the shop.
Alright, the wall is finished. And as you can see, this part of the workshop also looks a little different. Because I want to paint this wall white, and while I had access to this wall, I thought, well, I just clear up this wall and paint it white as well. And the reason why I want to paint it white is mainly because it's better for shooting video in here. Sometimes when I record against the OSB it reflects light and that sometimes confuses the camera and messes up the color temperature. So I hope by painting it white this will no longer be an issue. And it also reflects more light, so everything is brighter, which is always better for a video. Wow, I'm really pleased with how this wall turned out. Just painting it makes it look so much nicer, and it kind of made the whole wall look more wall-like. And makes actually the whole room look more room-like an actual room, if you know what I mean. And now I just need to put all of that crap back in place. Alright, everything has kind of a new place for now. And the dust collector has its new home. Mount it again with the old brackets because these bars would have been just too long. It still sits on the foam to reduce vibration to the wall. And now I can start putting together the new pipe system.
Taking this down was quite a lot of work because the way these pipes fit is meant for being permanent. It's super airtight but not the easiest to install. Once everything was removed, I vacuumed the wall and then began to install the new piping. I could also reuse everything from the old piping and didn't have to buy any new piece. I actually ended up with quite a few leftover pieces because the new piping is less complex. And here's installing the last section. You can also see that I'm using metal strapping to hang the pipes from the ceiling. The pipes I'm using are called HT pipes and are used for indoor sewage, also in our house. It's cheap and easy to find in hardware stores, at least in Germany. It works really well for a dust system like this one and isn't much different from standard PVC piping. Then I figured out the locations of the blast gates and attached their holders to the wall. The part for the table saw dust hood has a special clamp that I made. With the blast gates in place, I could see how long I need to cut the pipes. One way that worked for me was using a multi-tool to cut the pipe, but I think a jigsaw would have been better. And the new end receives a bevel again.
Alright, now it's pretty much finished. Last thing missing are the hoses, but before I'm gonna install these, I'm gonna take it all apart again because I didn't install the rubber ceilings yet. And that's because without them they can be fit together so easily. So that made it very simple to rearrange stuff, and now that I know everything is at the right place, I'm gonna take it down, put the rings in place and then put it back together. And with these rings then it's airtight. But installing it with the rings is quite difficult and you actually need some kind of lubricant. So that's the reason why I didn't put them in until now.
1 hour later it was done and I could attach the hoses with hose clamps. And somehow my other me is working much faster than me. And then all the machines got hooked up again.
Alright, now that all the machines are hooked back up to the system, it would be ready to use again. But to satisfy also all the safety people, I take some wire and ground my system.
The way I did that was to drill holes into the piping, tap them and screwing a bolt with a rubber gasket into it, and then twisted the wire around it. I had a really hard time drilling the first hole because I spent so much time setting up this nice ductwork and drilling into it felt just so wrong, and there's no way back once the hole is drilled. I positioned the bolts always at the drops where I would split the wire. So from there I could attach another wire that connects the drop, and at the end of the drop I installed another bolt. And the wire sticking out from there got connected to the hose. I just twisted it a few times around it and clamped it between the hose clamp. It might not be the best connection, but I got a through signal with an ammeter and this part won't get moved, so I think I'm okay. Back at the screw on the top, I attached the next piece of wire that connects to the next bolt. Between the bolts I wrapped the wire around the pipes. I don't know or think if that actually helps, but it's easier to install and looks better. Overall, I don't know if it's really necessary to ground these pipes. The reason is to prevent a static discharge causing a dust explosion in the pipes. Ooh. I guess the word explosion really sounds scary to people, but nobody talks about how rare these circumstances are that could cause something like that. The air and right kind of dust mixture has to be right, which actually never is the case, because there's always too much air surrounding the dust. And the discharge also has to be powerful enough, if there is one. I've used these pipes, not grounded, for 2 years without any problems. But as I said, explosions sound scary and people don't like to joke about it. So if you're showing your PVC ductwork on YouTube, you better have it grounded or the safety police will kill you. Man, I'm looking forward to the comments I'm getting from this now. At the bolts where 3 wires met, I twisted the ends and put some shrink hose over them, just for looks.
Okay, grounding is done, and I also connected the aluminum cyclone chambers to it, because until now they weren't grounded either. One of the wires goes into this cable channel here, which is the main grounding channel for the whole house electricity, and it ends up down here. Here it is connected, and this steel bar then goes actually into the ground. And now the new duct system is finished, and I like this arrangement much more than the old one. Because of the bad old location of the dust collector right in the center of the workshop, I had to make a lot of sharp turns to reach all the machines. This time I could just run a main line along the ceiling and install the drops where I needed them, and that already eliminated a lot of the sharp turns like these ones. In fact, the main line doesn't even have two 45 degrees to make a turn, it only has 3 30 degrees to make a turn, or here 2 30s, which restricts airflow even less. The last piece to install was the switch. When the dust collector was located here with the switch attached to it, I could reach it from everywhere in the shop, so I wanted to have the switch back there. I ran a cord over the duct system to get the switch there, and now when I'm at the bandsaw or table saw, I can reach it easily. And when I'm back here working on the lathe or any other tool back here, I can also reach it fairly easily. A remote control would also have been an option, but for 3-phase power that's really expensive. And I don't think that for a small shop like mine it's really beneficial, because making one step to the switch against pressing a button on the remote isn't that big of a deal. And I can't lose the remote control in my shop, and of course I can't lose that switch from the wall. And I guess you now also want to see and hear the new system in action, so let's fire it up.
Suction now is a fair bit better. See how the hose deflects when I block the inlet? But there's not really much to demonstrate on a duct system other than showing that it works. It takes quite a bit of work and money to install something like this, but the benefits are more than worth it. The dust collector plus ductwork is by far the most used tool in my shop.